You know, I believe that anyone can make a positive difference in the world, great and small. I see it every day. And you don't have to be a celebrity or billionaire to do it. All you really need is the desire to use your unique gifts, talents, and passions, and then to simply begin. Hi, I'm Linda Mackey, and welcome to The Eloquent Entrepreneur, a place where I have conversations with everyday changemakers just like you. Join us and hear inspiring stories, hard-won wisdom, and discover practical tools to help you accelerate your impact. So whatever you're doing right now, listen in and prepare to be inspired.
We have Tyler Hoffman here from OnPoint Benefits. And how are you? How's your day going?
I'm doing great. Yeah, no, I've had a great week. I mean, the year's off to a good start. I think people in general are optimistic, and yeah, just try to surround myself with that energy. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Here, let's start again.
There's the photo bomb.
Yeah, there's the photo bomb. Okay, well, okay. Here we are. Good to see you, Tyler. Tyler.
Tyler, tomato. I've been called a lot worse. So yeah, it's great to be here. You're looking great. I mean, your hair it's a little different than when last time I saw you.
Yeah. My hair grows so fast, and I've always changed my hair quite often, but I do need to get it cut and color probably like every 6 weeks because it just grows so fast. But thank you. If I didn't, I'd probably be like my grandmother. She went totally white by the time she was like 30. So I think it runs in the family. So how's your week been? How are things going?
Yeah, I mean, the year's off to a really nice start. I just feel like there's a lot of confidence out there. People are optimistic for the most part, and just really try to, surround myself with that energy and just keep that energy going, because at the end of the day, we can't control this whole experience right now. So all we can do is really control our attitude, and for us that are in business, our activity. So yeah, things are good.
Yeah. So you're in the financial world. So you're OnPoint Benefits. So tell us a little bit about your company and what you do. And is this kind of positive attitude coming like from the financial side, or just like what areas are you talking about, do you think?
Great question. Yeah. So let's go with the first question first, kind of like who am I? How did I get into this? What's OnPoint? So I've been in the financial services industry for like 20 years, and I built up a financial planning practice years ago, and I sold it back in 2015. And I sold it because I was getting frustrated. Like the whole financial services model, I felt was broken. I still think there's areas that it can be improved. And I just got disenfranchised with the whole thing. And I just kind of threw in the white towel, and after a few years sold it back in 2015 to a private equity firm, and left this industry for a while. And it wasn't until about 2018 where I kind of had an epiphany. And I was taking a look at what I was doing before and where business was headed. And I just saw kind of this niche opportunity to help businesses. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so working with small businesses, it kind of comes natural to me. But I just saw this opportunity to help small businesses around their benefits, and noticed that there's not a lot of high touch service. Like it's kind of a product that gets sold and it gets forgotten about, and that's just kind of the way that part of the business has been for years. And saw an opportunity to do something a little different, and that's kind of how OnPoint got built. And yeah, so when you ask me about how, like, where is the energy coming from, certainly I think on the financial side, like the markets, right, it's a roller coaster. If anybody's been watching anything, it's up, it's down. There's GameStop this, GameStop that. It's crazy, and you got to ignore that kind of stuff. But for me, like in my business and my practice, I'm talking to business owners every day. And yeah, there's definite real struggle happening right now. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of them are in control, and they're feeling good about what they're doing in their business. So that's where the positivity is coming from for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear. Do you think there's kind of like, because you said you're kind of filling in the gap, do you think like you were surfacing more of like the bigger companies and that kind of thing? So like kind of focusing more on small business owners now and entrepreneurs, and kind of was that kind of where the gap was, do you think?
Yeah, it doesn't, not necessarily the size of company, because there's where the gap is where the biggest challenge that companies have with benefits is that they all get caught in the drill, and I call it the drill, where they bought a product and they think that's the only option out there because their advisor generally only has a couple of options. And that's probably the biggest gap, is that and this isn't knocking financial advisors, but there's a lot of financial advisors that do financial planning that sell group plans. And when you deal with that type of consultant, they're limited in the capacity that they can bring to that domain, right? When you deal with a consultant who specializes in benefits, often small businesses and larger businesses will get access to an advisor or a consultant that has more product, more strategies, more technology available. And so that's the gap that I'm feeling, is bringing that kind of big consultant experience to small and medium-sized businesses on the island and throughout BC, so that they get access to more.
Right, and then they get more explanation, more kind of hand-holding, more, more of your expertise, so that they can make better decisions, I would imagine, in what they purchase in terms of their benefits. And do you get into like investing and all that kind of stuff, or is it strictly benefits?
Yeah, so we've got 3 pillars. It's better benefits, better productivity, and better wellness. So under benefits, it's also group RSPs. Wellness is mental health and also financial coaching. So one of the things we built 3 years ago was a program called MoneyWise, which is an online financial education and kind of coaching program. So we provide that to all of our clients as kind of a value add. And then
that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like so many, we take a look at the stats, like there's probably 50 to 60% of employees are stretched financially, and they're just not getting access to good quality financial information. So it's a way for us to kind of help those companies.
Yeah, that's huge, especially like as a small business owner. Like, I mean, I'm a creative. I don't know anything about, I mean, I had to take a crash course when my dad passed away, and when we bought a house and everything like that. But, I never really had that sort of, we don't learn that in school, right? It's stuff that you have to just learn through experience, and then you get taught by your parents or whoever. And so to have somebody like yourself that can help with educating and making sure that we're, a business owner is making sound financial decisions, like that's huge. Like having you're basically kind of like a money coach.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like so many of us get sold to at the time when we need it the most, right? And that's, we don't ever want that to happen. You want to have that education so that you can make an informed decision rather than being sold to. Right.
And so that's part of your services that you offer to all your clients. Is that right? That's what you just said. I think.
Totally is. Yeah. It's probably where I get the biggest energy from. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And I know the value of that. My husband and I worked with a money coach back in 2012, actually. And, we still practice the lessons that she taught us, like just how to manage our money. And we never fight about money anymore, hardly ever, like where we used to, because we have a system, and then we were taught how to, better manage our money. And it's a huge piece, I think, that's missing for a lot of, especially small business owners and sole proprietors and hate to say it, but creative types.
Yeah. It happens with families too, right? Even outside of business, I think, and that's probably what got me most disenfranchised, 5-6 years ago was that the whole industry, the whole model is around selling product, right? And advisors are compensated in selling product, not coaching and educating and advocating for clients. A lot of that started to shift. A lot of technology has broken those barriers down, but by and large, that's the model, right? And so, yeah.
Yeah, well, I like where this is going, because obviously my show is all about, business owners and entrepreneurs who are actually trying to make a difference in the world. And I think a big part of that is supporting people in business. So whether you're a small business owner, mom and pop, sole proprietor, all of this stuff is really, really, sure. Your people are going to buy products and stuff. So it is still supporting those companies that are offering these products, but it's actually supporting us to be more successful so that we can support the community. So it's kind of like I really like that you offer all those things, because that the industry is shifting in that direction, because that's how we create a successful society, in my opinion.
Sure. I mean, there's got to be a cooperative element to it, right?
Yeah.
You know, take a look at what credit unions do for their members, and what the co-op does for their members. You know, if each of us just took a little bit of that and applied it to our own business, you know, we'd all be better off from a community perspective, wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. So I know we talked about this in our initial call, but I want you to explain to everyone who's watching. So you talked a little bit about how you help your clients, and you do make an impact for them, because they can go on to actually, you know, implement the strategies and education and tips and all that stuff that you provide, so that they can be more successful. But can you speak a little bit more about that within your business? But also, I know you do some other things outside of your business that really make an impact in the community. And I can tell that you are, you know, this is really meaningful to you. So maybe, you know, talk about why, you know, like, where does that inspiration come from? Kind of thing.
Yeah, so I grew up I appreciate asking. I mean, I grew up in a small town. I grew up in Qualicum Beach. And I found that community was so tight knit. Everybody knew everybody. And one of the benefits of growing up in a community that small is that you really get to see the impact of, you know, small actions create big results. And so when I decided to kind of rebrand and take OnPoint into the direction that it's going, one of the first things that I decided that it was going to do was it was going to help the communities that we were involved in. And so we take 2% of our net profits, and we invest them back into a community program that my clients say, hey, this is where we want you to spend your money, Tyler. And so for 2021, we're going to work with Camp Yes out of Victoria. So our criteria for that 2% that we put back, it's either, you know, youth programs, either like youth sport and leadership, or something environmental based. And so this year we're doing Yes Camp for Youth, and it's all about youth leadership. And yeah, I think, you know, why not? Like, we're here to serve. Like, businesses, I've always taken this philosophy that businesses are here to serve. They're not here to sell. They have to sell, but they're here to serve. And if you just take that, I feel like if more business owners took that small step in whatever direction it was, again, it's just making the community better. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I believe that in my own business. It's like, I'm here to serve a need and a want, and to make my clients' lives better. And I think, that's just such a good attitude to come with. And it just really makes a difference into how you deliver your services too, because you are actually doing it more joyfully as well. And you know that what you're doing is actually making a difference for somebody. So that's awesome.
Well, it's all about the why, right? It's not about selling. It's not about getting more clients. It's about, you know, for this year, let's get more kids to camp. Like, that's more appealing to me than going out there and trying to grow the business by 20 or 30%. Like, that's nauseating. But, you know, helping kids that's a fun thing to do. Yeah.
But it's also an added benefit, because, you know, the more you can serve, the more successful you're going to be in your business too. So it's kind of a win.
Yeah, it's a total win-win for sure. Yeah.
So in terms of the types of things that you donate the 2% to, is that something that's voted on? Like, or do you have criteria? Like, you say, it's going to be centered around kids and families. Do you have, like, you know, areas that you focus on? Like you mentioned, environment and obviously the kids camp.
Yeah, I mean, I keep it pretty loose. So I want to alternate it every year. So this year we're doing something for kids. 2022, we'll do something for the environment. My clients can suggest where, you know, they can like nominate, and then I can throw some stuff into the hat too. And we just vote on it. It's pretty loose. Okay. Yeah, pretty loose.
That sounds good. Yeah. I noticed on your website you're a B corporation.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, yeah, you will be.
Pending B Corp. And that's part of this whole thing, right? And part of a big thing about the B Corp is it's about having structure in place that creates a better working environment, that vets your vendors, make sure that the vendors you're working with are, doing some good in the world. And, for me, like that's drawing a line in the sand of saying, hey, I'm making a declaration that my business is built on values, and the people that I do business with, they've got the same kind of values. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I know what a B corporation is, but can you explain for everybody watching? Because I don't think everybody knows what that is exactly. What is a B corporation?
Well, there, you put me on the spot here. So a lot of what a B corporation is like what I just said. It's about having a structure in place that, you've got a business that is for greater good. Like, it's giving back into the community. You've got, diversity and inclusion inside your organization and your structure and your hiring practices, but also externally that, if you're going to offer a product or service to your client base, that those vendors and suppliers also have a higher criteria. So a good example of where this gets played out is on our group RSP. So when we're offering and recommending group RSP product to our clients, we've decided at OnPoint that it will be, for the most part, it'll go with Desjardins, because Desjardins is a cooperative organization. The investments that they offer through that program are also responsible. So, it causes the business owner to really step back and have a 100-yard view of the whole business and how that trickles out to your clients and your employees too. So it's a tall order. Like, that B Corp there's a lot of stuff you've got to incorporate to get that done.
There's a huge criteria. One of my side businesses, I'm a beauty counter consultant. So it's a company. They are a certified B corporation. And that's one of the reasons I work with them, because they're certified, they're recognized, and it's not easy to become a B corporation. So
no, it isn't, and that's why we're pending. It takes time, and there's legal structure too that has to get, you got to literally change your structure. So it takes time to do that for sure.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the when I post this to what a B corporation, because I think I think there's a lot of companies out there who, like yourself, want to make an impact and may want to go in that direction too, because
it's a great idea. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm going to get on to a couple other questions. I know you talked about the story behind what you do and why you do it and all that kind of stuff. Are there any challenges that you faced along the way? Like, did you have this kind of big vision of, how you wanted to conduct your business and your life, for that matter? Did you have any challenges? And what kind of, how do you stay inspired to keep doing this thing? Or do you have any bigger aspirations to make a bigger impact? Or are you kind of like doing it?
Doing it. Have I arrived?
Have you arrived?
Yeah, I mean, the first part of your question, so big challenges. I mean, the biggest challenge I think I faced in my financial services career was back in 2015, right? I made the decision to get out of the business. So I sold it. And part of me, I did it for a reason, and it made sense at the time. And I don't regret that, because where I was and what I wanted to do, I couldn't do what I wanted to do given the regulatory constraints that the business had at the time. So the biggest challenge I've got is when I decided to, restart OnPoint, it was starting it from scratch. And if any entrepreneur knows what that's like, we all do, of starting right from scratch. It's exciting and it's exhilarating at the same time, but it's from scratch, right? You're starting from the bottom. So the flip side of that, it's allowed me to create all that I've created, because I blew the other business up for the most part, right? So you get to start from scratch, but so that's been the biggest challenge of, starting over in a business. And OnPoint is 3 years old now. So that's probably been the biggest challenge. I guess where do I get my motivation and inspiration? It's honestly from the work that I do with my clients. As far as where OnPoint can go, we can take it as big as we want it. We can keep it small. For me, it's just about focusing on the clients, and it'll grow as it needs to grow. And I've always kind of been a firm believer in that, you know, having a 3 and a 5 year vision plan. I ditched that concept years ago. I don't know what you do, what that's like for you. Like, do you have a vision?
Well, to be honest, I'm actually going through a whole, I want to call it a rebrand, refresh, I don't know, just overhaul of my business. Cause I've been pretty lucky. I've kind of just winged it for the most part. But now I'm like, okay, I need to have some goals. I've never really set goals either. Like, so I'm kind of at that stage where I really want to take my business to the next level and maybe start setting some goals for myself and having a bit more of a structure and a plan. Cause I mean, without giving away my age, I only have so many years left. And so I want to make sure that I don't live with regret, or as very little regret as possible. I want, so I've been doing a lot of work around this lately, I want to not say I want to do all these things and then never do them. So that's part of the reason I'm doing this show. Is this is one thing that I had on my little dream list, that I wanted to, highlight people making a difference kind of thing. And anyway, that's a whole other story. But
well, it's cool. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's kind of like, for me, like in my previous business, it was all about goals, right? It was like solidly written out 3-year plan, and every year it renewed, and it was detailed, and that I found exhausting, because it was always like you're trying to build something big. So when I started OnPoint, I took a completely opposite approach, and I just focused on the values. Like, what does the business want to do? Like, and what does Tyler want to experience?
Oh yeah, that's huge. Then, your core values are the number one.
Absolutely. And then it's like, I'm focused on that rather than, like I said earlier, I need like 30% growth and I got to get, 50 clients. That's daunting. It's overwhelming. And oftentimes we can fall short, and then we get disappointed. So I learned from a few entrepreneurs a few years ago is just focus on the values. And for me, that seems to be working really well. And I get enthusiastic by that. And I don't have to, worry about the big goal. The business will go the way it needs to go. If we need to add more people, we add more people. But those core values day to day, if I focus on those and living those and making sure that I'm living to those standards, then it's a lot more controllable and more fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I know when things aren't going right, when I start to really focus on the business and the day-to-day admin stuff and the numbers and everything, and when it takes me away from why I'm doing this in the first place.
Yeah.
So when I start to focus more on my values and the work that I'm creating, things just are much more magical, and, abundance flows basically for everybody, not just me, So and I love what you were saying about small actions create, what did you say? Small actions create big impact.
Yeah, so it's the smallest actions that create the biggest results, I find. Often it's that small thing that it's almost like a butterfly effect, right? And it creates leverage. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so true. I mean, I so far, most of the people that I've interviewed, we all say the same thing, because it really is true. And it's like a fundamental truth. So, and that's why, I think it's possible for people to have very, financially successful businesses, but also have something. It doesn't have to be like David Suzuki or Leonardo DiCaprio or whoever scale in terms of impact. Can be as small as, for me, it was volunteering at the SPCA. I realized I couldn't, stop animals around the world from being, tortured or whatever for their skin and all that kind of stuff first. But I could help the animals in my backyard. And so that's kind of what I think, we're obviously talking about here. And that's where we, can keep our lives, what's the word? Balanced, where we can feel like at the end of the day, we're going to say, you know what, I did good. I did okay, and I enjoyed my life. And I mean, that's for me at the end of the day. Actually, a friend of mine did a 5-day challenge. If you're out there, Carmel. But one of her things that she said, it was a quote by somebody else, and I can't even remember who it was. But anyway, the whole point was, you don't want to live your life with regret. And I talked about this before, and it really brought a tear to my eye because I was like, yeah, I want to, not feel like I didn't do the things that I really wanted to do, or at least tried, So, and I think we're all here to ultimately look back and say, hey, yeah, I did a good job, or I helped somebody, or I did this thing or this thing, right? And also feel fulfilled.
Yeah, there's got to be some purpose and meaning behind all of this craziness. Right?
I know we could talk about this for hours, I'm sure. But that's the gist of this. This is the gist of this show. This is why I'm doing it, because I want to have, the people I interview, like, tell their story and inspire other people who may be afraid to do that one thing that they feel their heart is calling them to do and that they know is going to help, but maybe they're too afraid or don't think they're good enough, or, all those things that really hold us back. I'm definitely one of those people who has had all those, voices in my head and fear and anxiety and but the thing that motivates me, like I said, is just, okay, I don't want to look back in 10 years and go, I didn't do that thing I said I wanted to do like 20 years ago. I mean, this has been 10 years in the making anyway. But anyway, enough about me. So I guess, what would you say to, what would be some words of wisdom for maybe aspiring entrepreneurs or business owners, or just in general, like, to, if somebody wanted to, do something besides just go to work and make money? Do you know what I mean? What would you say to those people? Like, what advice would you give?
Yeah, I used to be this is a totally different topic, but I used to be a professional baseball umpire. So before I got into financial services, I had this career in professional baseball. And one of the things that's a whole other topic. But one of the things that I learned in there was this ideology of pause, read, and react. And we can take that into business every day. It's very easy when things aren't going right to just react, right? And instead, the whole idea of pausing, reading, and reacting, and just take a step back, breathe, and get in tune with, like, what do you really want? What has to happen right now in order for you to feel better? Like, what is that truth? And just step into it. Because one of the things I've learned is, as daunting as that is, once we make that step and that commitment and we make that decision, everything changes, right? So what we want, everything is achieved in a decision. It's not achieved in the actions that follow. And so if you're sitting there thinking, like, I would really love to do this, I get that there's a whole story and all these things that would take you out of making that happen, but you just step back and decide. Once you make that decision, then all of the resources will come because you'll go looking for them. And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs and aspiring, creative types, when they want to take that leap, they're thinking about all the stuff that they don't have, right?
Yeah.
And then that's daunting. Like, when you think about, I got to go out and get all this stuff and do this and do that, and yeah, that would take anybody out of the game. But if you just focus on the decision and trusting that it'll unfold, it will unfold. Yeah. So it's just a pause, read, react would be the thing that I would say is just, consider adopting. Yeah.
That's great advice. And
it helps with road rage too. It helps in the car. Pause, read, react.
Before you say something you're going to regret.
Yeah.
No, that's so true what you say, because I remember when I became I'm sorry. I mean, it's happened to me a few times now, and it wasn't even conscious. I just, like, a long time ago, I used to work in advertising, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I decided that I wanted to be a makeup artist. And I just told the art director, the creative director I was working with at the time at the ad agency, I was kind of like trepidatious about quitting my job and becoming, and he's like, well, you are a makeup artist. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I am. So I decided in that second that I'm a makeup artist now, and everything changed.
Cool.
I literally just quit my job and started doing it. I mean, I was already doing it on the side, but once I kind of, like you said, when you make the decision, it's already kind of, the intention's already rolling, and you're already, the universe just conspires to make it happen for you in a way. I mean, you have to take the action, but yeah.
This is the thing, like the universe is there to guide us and to give us what we need. And when we're not fulfilling that truth, we're not getting what the universe is meant to give us, right? And it's easier said than done. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not as easy as sending back a steak that you don't like in a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is there. Like, I've always taken that little 3-word phrase and try to apply it outside of baseball, and it seems to help.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. And I love, the other thing I heard recently was, and I've seen it come up a couple times now, maybe it's just kind of in the air right now, but is this one thing one thing I want to do or not do, is, am I going to thank myself later? Am I going to is my future self going to thank me for it later? And that's kind of really sticking home, or, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it's meaningful to me right now. And I think it's kind of ties in with everything we're talking about. So that's very cool. So to wrap things up a little bit, it's been great chatting with you. Do you have any kind of, I know, we talked about, you're going to be a B Corp. I just know it. So that in itself is a huge accomplishment. And it sounds like everything's going great in your business. We didn't talk about the 100 Men Who Care, because that's a huge part of what you're doing and how you're making an impact.
Yeah, I often forget about that. It's and the thing I love about this organization, Linda, is that they're in almost every community. So I'm involved with the 100 Men Who Care Cowichan Valley. There's one in Victoria. There's, they're everywhere. But again, it's that whole concept of when I first started this conversation with you about where I grew up. Small actions create big results. So if you get 100 people with $100, that adds up. And that's something meaningful, and these organizations that we're supporting across the island are benefiting from that. And so what an easy way to come up with, because my commitment is really $400 a year. We meet 4 times a year, but it's also the community around that too. So you're getting to network and be with other people, guys or women, that have that same mentality and ideology that want to give back. And that's the part that I love. But yeah, my $100 represents like $10,000 because of the group. So yeah, it's kind of neat.
Exactly. So the 100 Men Who Care, and there's 100 Women Who Care, is basically 100 men or 100 women. They come together 4 times a year. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, our chapter does. Yeah.
Yeah, and then each person contributes $100, and then they. How does the charity get selected? Is it like a voting thing? Because there's 4 or 5 charities or something that are kind of presented each time. Exactly. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So the group members will nominate.
Okay, that's right.
When we meet, there's 3 or 4 of them that get nominated. They do their pitch. They're invited to come and kind of give their pitch, and then the group votes on one, and the one gets the money. I've often thought maybe we should just divide it by 3 and let them all have it, but that's not the model. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's a great thing. And I have been to 100 Women Who Care in the community, and I'm looking forward to rejoining again, because I think it's such a great organization, and whoever thought of it, I can't remember who it was, but it was such a great idea. And it fully exemplifies that small actions create.
It totally does. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So you've got your everything's going well. You're helping people. You're making a difference in your community, and you have employees. I imagine you've got a good group of people helping you in your business. And
yeah, I've got a small team. A few team, like client success managers, we call them, and kind of help with onboarding and my back office part. But for the most part, it's me out in front, and yeah.
So do you have any ultimate aspiration or or plan, or are you kind of just living it right now? Like you're good, or do you have is there anything in your future that you can see happening? Or are you just kind of leaving it up to the universe to show you the way?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is, moving this business from Vancouver, September 2019. The idea is to move the business to the island, get back to where I grew up. So that's done. And I guess my ultimate vision is to make OnPoint, the go-to place for employee benefits on Vancouver Island. Like that's Tyler's driving vision. And the way that we're going to do that is just help a lot of businesses, and a lot of organizations along the way.
Right. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, I think so.
And what about personally? How do you spend your time other than in business? Or what are your kind of things that keep your life balanced?
Yeah, so I love the outdoors. Trail running and hiking are two things that I love. I'm going to be getting another dog here. My first Jack Russell passed away 2 years ago. And so I'm going to get another one coming here this spring. I'm excited about that. And his name will be Heiko. So we'll get him out on the trails. And I mean, he's going to be a part-time job just training so he doesn't turn into a little monster. But yeah, outdoors is kind of my thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if I asked you before, but do you have a kids or a family or?
Yeah, so I don't have any kids. I was married for 13 years. My husband and I separated when we moved over here back in September. So yeah, it's kind of a new chapter. Didn't anticipate being single on the island, but hey, this is where we're at. So he got the dog. Our dog was his dog. So
right.
Dog left. So it's me on the island. New chapter, new beginning. Newer business on the island, and I'm totally stoked about it. I think the universe can chew you up sometimes, but on the flip side of it, you just got to trust that this is the path. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure you'll find love again, and you'll all the pieces are going to fall into place, because when we're doing what we love and we're having that balance, and like you said, it's just everything comes
absolutely
to serve us, and so we can serve the world.
Totally agree.
All right. Well, do you have any questions for me, or before we wrap this up? I'm going to include your link to your website so people know where to find you, and the 100 Men Who Care also, as well as the B Corp information. I think that'll be really helpful.
Good ideas. Yeah, that's super. Yeah. No, this was good. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here and chatting. And we'll keep in touch. And we'll have an awesome day. And
you too.
We'll be in touch.
Sounds good, Linda. All right.
Okay.
Bye
for now.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Eloquent Entrepreneur, Conversations with Everyday Changemakers, and that you're feeling supercharged and inspired to make your positive impact in the world. Because one thing I know for sure is that together we can create a lasting legacy and ignite others to do the same. To learn more about The Eloquent Entrepreneur and more, visit my website at lindamackey.ca. Bye for now.